We welcome you to what is a very honoring event and a very exciting event for this whole community, and it's so good to see so many friendly faces. And my job is to start getting running, and I've chosen someone to introduce you to a little bit of charming history. And I know you all have been waiting for years. You didn't give up on us, you're still here. This gentleman has been waiting for 30 years. Robert?
Thank you. This is my least favorite thing to do. I said this is the least favorite thing to do. I would rather be at the dentist's office. Pretty bad. My apologies to Dr. Dunn. Into the mic. Thank you very much. I'm going to start with the history of the site. As you well know, that the Kauai Indians used this site for many years, and according to the historian, that the amphitheater site that we're going to use was originally used for religious ceremonies. In 1917, Claudius Emerson bought the Idyllwild Inn, and along with the Idyllwild Inn, he obtained 1,000 acres, of which is this site right here. In 1920, he built a lodge, and over the years he built stables, the tennis courts that we saw, the shuffleball court, and and the pool. And the property stayed in their family for over 50 years. And in 1974, the year I got here, it went on the market. It stayed on the market for the next 30 years, off and on. Many people trying to buy it, and always falling through escrow. In 1982 was the first time we tried to put together a recreation center. It was a private enterprise with 2 contractors and 2 recreation people. We spent 2 years studying it, did all the financial studies on it, and the backers, after 2 years, backed out when they found out it was going to not take over 10 years to make any money. So in 1998 was the year that the town got together and said, let's do this, with the backing of Jim Venable, who was the Riverside County Supervisor at the time. We put it to a vote, and unfortunately at the time we needed a 2/3 majority, and we lost by just a few votes. So even though we had done all the drawings, had a big benefit from the Riverside County Supervisor, we were not able to do anything with that. But the turning point in history, and this is where it gets fun, is I had an office in town, and it was 2006. And if you remember, what was happening at that time was there was a controversy over who was going to do recreation. The Chamber of Commerce had it for many years, and they no longer wanted to do recreation. So Riverside County asked, I think it was ICRC at the time, and so who was going to do the recreation? And the town crier was writing about both sides of the story. So one day, an old client of mine walked in the door, and his name's Dave Butterfield. And he said, what is going on with recreation? So I gave him my story of what I thought recreation was, and what we really needed was a center. And he said, okay, thank you, and he left. Oh, maybe a month later, there's a knock on the office door, and Dave walks, and he says, let's do it. I'm like, let's do what? He says, let's do a community center. So that was the start of a real change in Idyllwild. So Dave and I came down to this site right here, and we walked the site, and he couldn't believe that it had been vacant that many years. So with the help of Pete Caparelli and Kent Steele, we put together a crew to approach the new owner. After all those years, they had sold 6 months earlier. But that didn't stop Dave. It just took a little more time and a little more patience. So in 2006, they closed escrow on it, and for the next 2 years, Lee Arnson and John Holt worked with Dave and Lowy to merge the lots and adjust the lots so that we would end up with this beautiful 5-acre site. In 2009, Vic Sorkin and the Rotary people put together the park course. And in 2012, the playground was put together with Don Saunier's energy and over 700 volunteers. And that was an amazing event. From 2012 till the present date, we went through the fun time of going to Riverside County in the permit process. We could not have gotten through that process without Mr. Washington's help, Dave's patience, and somebody I want to recognize, and that is Alex Alatorre. Would he please stand up? He has been through oh so much. We not only have the flood control issues because of the creek, he's worked overtime on that issue. It's amazing the amount of work that we have done to make sure that we protect the creek and that everything we do is very environmentally conscious. When we went to get our CUP, which is a conditional use permit, we hit a snag. There was no secondary exit. We had a dead end down at the amphitheatre site. Once again, Dave says, "Isn't the property adjacent for sale?" So Dave and I walked the site. He says, "I just want the parking. I just want to go along the creek. I don't want the building. I don't want to be a landlord." You know how that worked out. Yes. So now we not only have a beautiful brew pub, we have an incredible access and 100 more parking spaces, which is what we needed to get through Riverside County. Now I'd like to say a few words about a couple people. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to get a community center. So I would like to thank Marge Muir for many, many, many years. Never gave up. Alex, of course. Pete Caparelli, who's been with us the whole almost 30 years. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for Janice Lyle. She's kept. And again, I want to thank Chuck Washington and Riverside County for really pushing us through at the end. The quote goes, "It's not the destination, it's the journey." I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm glad we're here, but the journey has just begun. We would not be here without the two people I'm going to introduce now. And I can't thank them enough. I love the fact that I can call them friends. I'd like to introduce Dave and Lowy Butterfield.
Some of you probably know, but I wonder what Robert looked like 30 years ago. Well, we're very blessed and honored to be able to do what we're doing. When we originally donated this beautiful property to the community, it was with one philosophy. The community should develop on this site whatever the community can fund and support. And we're here today to memorialize the first phase of that process, which is access, parking, and the infrastructure to support the future phases. Lowy and I are rather disappointed that that does not include construction of the amphitheater. And it's a matter of money. There's just not enough money to do all of the access, parking, and infrastructure in the amphitheater as well. So as a little present, yesterday, Loie and I donated the additional money to build the amphitheater in phase 1. Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting a little grooming advice. So, at the end of phase 1, we will have access from Ridgeview and Village Center Drive. We'll have parking below and above. We'll have an infrastructure to support all the future phases and a beautiful outside venue for concerts and stage shows. So I think it's going to be wonderful, and I just hope that now that I've launched this on Robert and Alex, they can actually get it done. Robert mentioned Janice Lyle. Janice is extraordinarily qualified to do what she's been doing the past few years on behalf of the community. She was the previous executive director of the Palm Springs Art Museum. She's currently director of Sunnylands. I lost my... Anyway, she is. So, I think she proves the old adage, if you want something done, ask somebody who's very, very busy to do it. Janice Lyle.
So I'm happy to be up here along with Robert and Dave to recognize the many people who have played a part in reaching today's groundbreaking progress. As we all know, it has been long in coming. So that the people who've made it happen are all standing here today. Every single one of you has played some role in getting us here. Whether it is the members of the board of the San Jacinto Mountains Community Center, whether it's the members of the BCC, which is the Building Campaign Committee of our board, whether it's the advisory members, whether it's county staff who helped us, whether it was our own vendors or our local businesses who offered us discounts to get to this place. Every single one of you, our local fire department, the people who in this community step up and offer help, whatever it can be, whenever we ask. And it most definitely involves all of those people in this community who have attended our events and who have financially supported us over these many, many years. So I thank every single one of you. But I think today's announcement means that there are two people who hold a special place in the role of the development of the Idyllwild Community Center, and they are Dave and Loie Butterfield. Their financial donations are the backbone of this project. And these amazing philanthropists chose our little community to come and live and to come and contribute to, because those contributions are changing us in a positive way forever. I want to make a statement because Dave, I actually, can I say that I found out yesterday? Okay. So I found out yesterday because the bank called me, right? So I had to say, oh my gosh. But when we talk about donations, our community worked hard. We struggled, and over the last 4 to 5 years, we have raised $400,000, and it's set aside for phase 2. And Chuck helped us to receive from CDBG grant funding $1.2 million that's also set aside for the Phase 2 building. So that's phenomenal, and that's a great start for the hard work we have to do once Phase 1 is underway and we got to get ready for Phase 2. But I want to actually quantify for you the amount of financial support from the Butterfields over the last 10 years, which exceeds $5.5 million. So all I can say is I cannot imagine, it's a staggering number, and I cannot imagine any other community that could have been as lucky as we are to have had them to support and encourage us. It is with great gratitude that I acknowledge them today and thank them on behalf of everyone in this community and everyone who will benefit for decades from your generosity. Thank you. So the other really, even though we alluded briefly to the difficulty of getting through the county, we have an advocate at the county, and he is our county supervisor, Chuck Washington. And I'd like to invite him to the podium.
Thank you, Janice. Let me give you a little bit of background first before I launch into my political speech, which will take about 30 minutes. They can hear me. Even Marge is laughing. She likes me now. She's been one of my toughest critics, but I've won her over. Yes. I didn't know that I was going to become a politician. Sometimes I refer to myself as an accidental politician. I flew in the Navy years ago, and when I got out, I got hired by Delta Airlines. I had a lot of free time on my hands. And so I started these little hobbies. I served on the Murrieta City Council, then the Temecula City Council. People tease me, where are you going next? Lake Elsinore, Menifee? You can't seem to stay put, but we are still in Temecula. And when I started telling her I was going to retire from Delta Airlines, she said, well, you need something else to do. Now, people always take that the wrong way, like she didn't want me around. Yeah, she's stuck with me. And I started reflecting on that. And, you know, I'll share with you a little bit of a joke that I tell sometimes about the airline job, you know, which I totaled it up. It's probably 6.5 million miles that I've flown as an airline pilot. And every time we land and taxi in to the gate, shut the engines down, open the cockpit door, stand and say goodbye, people would say, thank you for the safe flight. Almost breathless like that, right? And I'm thinking, I wasn't doing it for you. I mean, I'm glad you're here, but yeah. You get one mess up and that's it, you're done, right? And Kathy pointed out, you know, the thing that really gets you charged up, I've watched it, is when you have an opportunity to serve and connect with people. And there's none of that going on in an airplane. Take my word for it. And when the opportunity maybe to replace Senator Stone in this seat came up, and I said, no. Why would I do that? We've got a perfect little hobby on the Temecula City Council. And I started looking into it, and I started asking people to support me for the appointment and then ultimately for the election. And I found that the gratification I get from being a servant to people is immense. And then that leads me to Idyllwild and actually all of my mountain communities, because, you know, down in Temecula, we love to brag about our wine country, but my district goes from all the way down the southwest corner of the county, all the way up to the top of Mount San Jacinto. It is the most beautiful stretch in this entire county. And I refer to this area as the crown jewel for the county. Because when you're down there and you look up here, or when you're here and you see what is here, it's like living art. I mean, it's beautiful. It's full of culture. It's full of character. It's full of richness. It's full of people who care about their community. And so when we come up here, even if it's in an official capacity, Kathy and I feel like we're on vacation, a little mini vacation. And you can feel the love in this community. People just, you don't always agree. Okay, oftentimes you don't agree with one another. But you do it in a loving way. You say, well, I think we should do this. And what do you expect from a bunch of baby boomers, right? I've got millennials who work for me in my office, part of my staff. 22, 23, I have 4 of them. And I tell them something to do, and then they just go do it. And they come back and it's done, and I think, wow, they're like us baby boomers. They're doers, but they don't have attitude. We're proud of our attitude, aren't we? So, that's a long-winded way to say I love this community. I'm happy to play just a small part in making it a better place. And I believe the community center is a part of that. And so I brought along a proclamation. But before we do that, I want 2 women to come up. And they know who they are. One's got flowers, and one's going to be my Vanna. Yes. Dave and Lloyd, can you come up, please? Stand over here and face the crowd. Sorry. Yeah. And I have a proclamation framed and signed by the entire Board of Supervisors. And I want to read it so that Dave and Loie know what it says. The founding of the Idyllwild Community Center in ID Park, whereas community centers provide residents with a meeting place that encourages socialization and community involvement, and whereas parks involve societies, improve societies by increasing the economic value of an area, and by providing residents with a place to enjoy nature with their families and friends, and whereas Loie and Dave Butterfield have worked tirelessly since 2006 to establish a community center and park in Idyllwild so that its residents can benefit from the aforementioned advantages, and whereas in 2008 they donated a 5-acre site to the nonprofit organization for the purpose of developing the future Idyllwild Community Center, which plans to create a vibrant, recreational, cultural, and social space that serves the needs of all ages, and whereas in 2017, Loie and Dave Butterfield acquired property in the center of Idyllwild for the sole intent to return it to a tranquil and beautiful public park for the residents and visitors to enjoy, and whereas they dedicated ID Park on May 26, 2018 in honor of our veterans and first responders who risked their lives to protect and serve their communities here, and whereas from 2010 to 2018, the Butterfields have fully funded the Phase 1 site development for the Idyllwild Community Center. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Riverside County does hereby recognize on May 26, 2018, the significance of these tremendous gifts to the residents and visitors of Idyllwild, and gratefully thank Loie and Dave Butterfield for enhancing the quality of life for everyone who resides in or visits this special mountain community. And it is signed by myself, Chuck Washington, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and all 4 of my colleagues from each of the 5 districts. Thank you, Dave and Loie. Congratulations. And I forgot to introduce the love of my life, Kathy. Married to me for 44 years.
We didn't practice this part. Dig it. And also, John and Rebecca from Fraser Drake are going to document this so you can always see it on our website.
Yeah, if you pressed it, turn it. Want another one? Okay. Here we go.
All right. John.
You have to look.
John.
Oh, okay, we're smiling.
Wait a minute.
All right.
Pose first.
Pose first.
And then you pose right there.
All right, you did that?
All right.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Don't forget to walk by the site. And also thank you, JP, Scrub Ryan, and the town criers for always being supportive. Have a great day. See you later. Don't forget to drop by your email address to Diane so we can stay in touch with you. Thank you.
And Chris.